Hi, and welcome back to Gavin's Sonex B. So I'm still managing to get some time in, and I've just completed riveting the two tips onto the horizontal stabilizer, which is something I can tick off my list of things to do. If I swing you around, there we go. So this is the right hand side, the one I did first, and then we go around the back. Might need to fill up with some diesel later. There's the second one, and they're very good. I'm impressed. This one's about 2mm too long on this side, and the other one is 2mm too short. But now I'm going to do the one on the top of the rudder. Hopefully I'll get this one absolutely spot on, perfectly right. So I've had a quick look at the moulding for the rudder tail tip. There it is. And this one is actually the right shape. So it's only the horizontal stabilizer ones that are not the right shape. And actually, this one will press in, straight in, perfectly. And by the looks of it, if I get the front end down in roughly the right place, it's looking as if it's actually the right length. So what I shall do is busy away. I keep saying that, I must think of something else. I'll get on and mark this up and cut the first chunk out of it, and we'll come back and have a look and see how that's going. So to do this, I've dropped the aircraft onto the ground so the tail is a lot lower at its sort of normal running height rather than up in the air. And I'll just turn you round. I wasn't going to bore you with all the intricacies of what I've been doing, but this is the second fit. The first fit was reasonable, but this is the second fit. I've drilled the front. I've got my maintained 3mm gap all the way across, and I think I've actually cracked it this time. That's as pretty damn close as you can get to being level, which is good. So the next job is to fit the rib inside and drill the holes for that, and cleco that up. I'll probably test fit it one more time just to make sure, deburr everything, and then it's rivet time. Woohoo! More later. So there we are, final fit before riveting. The tip rib is riveted in place, and everything's lined up, and we've got our 3mm gap all the way along, which is good. Before starting, it's best to obviously get the rudder lined up, and that can be done by drawing a line down through the center of the tip rib on the tail, and projecting that onto the back end of the rudder. And that gives you neutral rudder position, and then you can align the tip to meet it. So I'm going to put the last few rivets in, and then I'm going to have a beer to celebrate. See you in a minute. And there it is done. Looking good, all in place, and I'm happy with that. So now it's time for a beer and a sit down for 5 minutes and then look at the list and decide what's next. More later. So after the excitement of finishing the tail tips, the extra bolts and countersunk washers have arrived from the suppliers, and aircraft spruce, that's the word I was looking for. Did you see my brain go blank then? It's a 60 something syndrome. So yes, they arrived, and so I can continue on with the Canopy project and hopefully get that finished. So what I've done is I've stripped it down, and I've drilled the canopy bow holes and the sides to the correct dimensions. I've tapped all the holes, all 50, however many of them there are around the outside of it, on the canopy frame. They're all tapped. I've drilled out the holes in the hinge, so that's done as well, and I've also drilled out all in the canopy itself, and the ones around the front and rear, actually this is the rear, that's the front, need to be countersunk to take the countersunk washers. So I've done that as well, and I'm just in the process of peeling back the protective film from around the edge of the canopy, and that needs to be done obviously on the inside and the outside, and I'm wondering whether to actually peel the inside off completely and just leave the outside on, as I've done with the windscreen. But we'll see, keep changing my mind. So I've brought the fasteners out. I'm going to have a quick clear up, and then I'm going to get the canopy positioned back on the frame, and then we'll have a go at putting some fasteners in. I'll Cleco it first if I can. I don't know whether the Clecos will fit the holes that I've got in the frame, but we'll see if we can get some in anyway, just to hold it still, and get some fasteners in it and see how it goes. More later. So I've just had a final go round of all the holes around the canopy. I've just cleaned them up, used the standard deburring tool very gently, very light pressure on it, just one twist, just to get rid of any burr, plastic burr on the inside, and I have Clecoed it all back together, and the good news is that all the holes still line up. I'm pretty impressed actually. It's fell back together. You know, it's one of those things where actually it did all fit back together. After the first couple of holes that I Clecoed, everything else lined up, so I must have done something right. And it looks a bit like this now. So I say it's gone back together. It's got its little 3mm gap up the back end. I don't know whether you can see that. There we go. Little gap all the way up. The fluctuations are actually not the canopy, it's the back of this, which isn't absolutely flat. And that's looking good all the way along there where the hinge is, and then up the front we've got our gap all the way round, and then round this side again. Where is it? There we go. Gap all the way round, and then across the latching side. Of course, I didn't tell you, but I've cut the hole through the canopy as well for the canopy latch to go through, and then up this side, maintaining the gap. So now it's time for the fixings. Now they're tiny little machine screws. They look a little bit like that. Ooh. I don't know where it's going to focus. There we go. Little machine screw around the front and the back, and each one of those sits in a little countersunk washer like that. And then for the sides, different screws with round heads on them like that. Seems to focus better up in that corner. There we go. Now you can't use any Loctite on this because Loctite reacts with the Perspex and causes it to discolour and potentially craze and crack. So what I've done is when I tapped the holes, I've not done what I would normally do, which is run the tap in and out aggressively to make it easy to get the bolts in and out. I've just run the tap in once and only far enough to come out the other side of the material, and then run it back out again very gently. So hopefully they're relatively tight threads, so that the screws aren't too loose, because we don't want loose screws, do we? I don't know whether you can use paint to hold to lock them in, but I don't want to wreck my canopy, and to be quite honest, I can do that another day if I want to. So I'm just going to put the screws in, make sure it all fits. Hopefully I've countersunk the holes in the front and rear edges enough. We'll soon find out. If I haven't, when I tighten them up, it's going to crack the Perspex. So we'll see. More later. And so here we are. It went relatively easily. Had to ease a couple of the holes just a tiny bit, but the bolts went in nice and easily. I haven't put in the ones on the ends on both sides because I need some nuts for those, and I didn't bring them out into the garage, but it's looking good. That's all good. And the countersink ones up the back side looking good, and then round the other side, coming down there. But again, the ones requiring the nuts are not there. And all these are basically threaded into the frame. Bit like that. Looking good. I'm quite pleased with that. It's getting late now, so I'm going to call it quits and go and have a sit down and a cup of coffee or something, and then get some sleep. And I'll fit the last 4 tomorrow. And so that's the canopy nearly finished. I've got to refit the locking mechanism onto it and that's about it. So more tomorrow. So there we go, got the last few screws in, and I've also fitted the latch assembly on the other side. I just walk around here. So the latch is in and it's functioning. Had to ease it a bit because actually fixing the perspex to the bottom rail here actually distorts the rail just slightly, because obviously you're pulling the plastic into the rail and it's twisting it slightly, which means it doesn't really quite go down flat as it did previously, so I've had to ease the catch assembly to take account of that, but it's a nice tight fit and I'm pretty pleased with it. And so that's the canopy done. It's got hot here again, so I've tied my hair up because otherwise I get really sweaty. And next I think is the two little fill-in panels. These two fill-in panels here, I'm going to make those. I've already traced out the a pattern for them, and I need to cut them out of some sheet material, and then we'll have a go at bending them up. Quite interesting to bend, because the bend for the flanges has to vary in angle all the way along, because it's a cone basically, and as you get to the sort of larger diameter of the cone, the angle flattens out a bit. So anyway, it's all good fun, and so I'll see you next time. Cheers for now.